I am Mitzi Jonelle Tad, and I'm a Filipina climate justice activist that fights alongside the people, especially the people who are most marginalized, for systemic change so that we can address the climate crisis. So I'm an organizer with Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, which is the Fridays for Future of our country. A lot of our work here in the Philippines revolves around raising awareness about the climate crisis. That's one of the first things because we really, really believe that knowledge and education is so empowering and so important. Because when I was learning about climate change in school when I was younger, they taught us about melting ice caps and polar bears, but not about how the typhoons that we're already experiencing was the climate crisis already. And they didn't tell us about the fossil fuel industries that was causing the climate crisis, but rather they said that it was because of smoking and the human and people not turning their lights off, which is causing the climate crisis. So it wasn't empowering at all. And so we really understood the importance of empowering people with knowledge and education. So that's something that we do in twofold. So one of it is we talk to the Department of Education to institutionalize climate education. And on the other side, we go to our frontline communities. So these are the urban poor communities, the indigenous peoples, the small farmers, the small fisher folk. And first we learn from them. We learn about their experiences, their fights, their struggles. And then we tell them about the climate crisis and what they're experiencing, how it is connected to the climate crisis and what they can do about it. So we develop community modules, which are different based on the community that you're in. So if you're a farming community, it'll mostly be about agroecology and the droughts. And if you're a fishing community, it'll be about the sea level rising and the warming of the ocean and the patterns of the fish. So we make sure that we have climate education that is empowering and tailored to your community. And then aside from that, we also do strikes and protests across the world with the global climate strikes. And we campaign against banks that are causing the climate crisis and funding the fossil fuel industries here in the Philippines and across the globe. And we really connect and unite with the other movements across the world, because I think it's so important that youth movements across the world work together, be in unity with each other, show solidarity with one another so that we can have that one global united movement to address this global crisis. I guess in a way it was several moments that really accumulated. So I grew up seeing the impacts of the climate crisis firsthand, being afraid of drowning in my own bedroom as I saw the floods consume our communities and people being stranded on the third floors of their rooftops and calling for help for days. But I never knew what to do. I never understood that there was something that I could do. It wasn't until 2017 when I was able to talk to a Lumad indigenous leader of our land, and he was telling us about how he was being harassed, displaced, killed, and militarized, all for protecting their forests, their ancestral lands, their homes, our planet. And then ever so simply, after he told us about the atrocities happening to his community, he shrugged and kind of chuckled and said, "That's why we have no choice but to fight back." And my bubble of privilege kind of burst. I realized that I had this quote unquote privilege to choose to be an activist. And there are people who are so forced into activism because to not be an activist would be even worse. Because in the Philippines, being an activist is dangerous. And so a lot of people have decided to not go into activism, especially environmental defenders and environmental activism, because it is so dangerous. But then I realized that when there are people who are doing this with all their life, how could I not? How could I not join the struggle when I have this privilege to be safe, when I have this privilege to choose to be safe? But really, when I learned about the environmental crisis that we're in, about the planetary pandemic that we're in, I realized that he was right all along. None of us have a choice but to fight back at this point, because the climate crisis is a global crisis that will impact all of us. The single most pressing issue that we need to address as a global community, I would say, is the system that we're in that permits the destruction of the environment and the exploitation of our land and of our people. The system that we're in that prioritizes profit and will cling on to the fossil fuel industry as long as possible so that it doesn't lose any profit. The one that prioritizes profit and not people and planet, because that is what's causing the climate crisis. That system is what's causing the COVID vaccine inequity that we're seeing today. This system is the one that's really destroying people's lives today and our future. So it's really this system that we have to change. In terms of my personal achievements in my lifetime, I want to be able to say that I fought alongside the people most marginalized, that I listened to them and I lived my life serving the people, and that I moved people and that I loved people. I think being able to say that I truly loved, not in the sense of, fluffy, happy, sparkly love, but love that pushes you forward, love that keeps you going even when it's so difficult to be an activist, love that helps you hold people accountable because you want them to grow and be better people, love that helps you criticize people because you know that it'll be better for the movement. That's the kind of love that I want. And my greatest achievement in my life would be to know that I loved people and that people knew that I loved them. I think we have no choice but to make sure that humanity survives. I refuse to accept anything else. And I refuse to compromise on people's lives. And so we will keep fighting to make sure that this happens, because we know that it will happen. Empires have fallen in the past. There have been so many achievements towards breaking down the systems of injustice and oppression. And we've seen that when people come together and unite, we can change things. And that's what will happen with this climate crisis, with any crisis that we meet next. Humanity will survive because we have to, because we can, because we will, as long as we unite. Your time is running out and the people are coming to get you. So it's now your chance to learn and to decide which side of history will you be on. The one that prioritizes people and planet, or the one that kills humanity. It's really the time to decide now. We need everyone with us, and corporations and governments. We need you to stop prioritizing profit and to really just care about other people. That's really what we're asking for, is to realize that we're all in this together, and that we cannot keep sacrificing the lives, especially of people of color, just so a few of us can get money. That's really how we really cannot keep operating our system in this way. And you have to come with us and join us in changing this. Otherwise, you will be left behind. I would say start empowering yourself with knowledge, and then try to figure out how you can turn that information into action. So find what makes you happy, what gives you joy, what makes you passionate, and then channel that, whether it's talking to people or making art or music or anything really. Everything is very needed, and everyone is so important and essential in this movement for climate justice. So just start somewhere and don't be afraid to ask questions, because we all started with no knowledge and we're all still continuously learning. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not know everything. All that needs to happen is that you start and you make sure that you listen to the science and to the people. So let's not just keep ourselves boxed into the graphs and the numbers, but really listen to the frontline communities that are already experiencing the climate crisis today and see and learn from the resistance that's happening in these countries.